Hey people, it's hot and it's humid. So I want to talk about today some of the variety changes that I've done this year. I'm just going to talk about one variety change now, and then later in another video I want to talk about one or two more. But behind me I have the cucumbers. I'm not even going to begin to pronounce the variety that I'm growing this year. I'll put it on the screen here, but it's a Japanese variety, and it basically translates to fruit and node, implying that it'll fruit at every node. So last year, if you remember, and I'll chop in some footage of that, but I grew a variety called White Wonder. I want to say one more thing about this variety. This is starting to turn yellow. It's pretty mature. It doesn't get bitter. I haven't had one of these bitter yet, and the seeds are still tender. Really great cucumber. I've given this thing away by the sackfuls at work, and I have had so many compliments. People my age, old timers, coming back and saying this is the best cucumber they've ever had. And I've grown that variety for years. Everybody loves it, including me. But I wanted something that might be better on this trellising system, and something that might be a little more productive. And honestly, I've been doing the same thing for a few years, and I just wanted to change. So two things that I look at in a variety of any kind of vegetable, and it's probably the same for everybody else. For one, I want to know how good it tastes and how much it produces. So let's look at it out here, and let's talk about the growth habit and all of that and see what's up. So let me show you what I've got here. I've got one 30-inch bed planted in cucumbers, and I've got two trellises, so there's two rows down through here, and I planted a plant every 12 inches. So there you go. I've done the same spacing on both sides. Now, I said before, I grew this variety because I thought it would yield better, and I wanted to try something different. This is an Asian type, which to me seems a lot like the English type. I do think these are a little better in the way that they grow. They stay thinner longer, like they can get longer before the diameter goes up on them, I think. But I'm not real familiar with these type or the English type. I never grew these growing up. We basically, my grandmother and my parents grew the pickling types usually, and just used them for fresh eating and pickling. So there are some that are curved and a few that are misshapen, and that's probably got to do with a few different things, maybe lack of water here and there. I've had a hard time keeping up with the irrigation. Drip irrigation, drip tape is what I need to do next year, and that would be the ticket on this. But for the most part, I think I've had less misshapes than I did with the miniature whites. And as far as the yield, I think these have done better. Now, I think I should do that side by side to really give you a realistic comparison, but I do think these have yielded better. And the thing with these is if I was selling these, and I plan on it next year, I might do a couple sizes, so this would still be plenty good, and I'm going to cut a few of these at different sizes and bring them in and we'll look. But I could sell that, but something, let me find, this is probably what I would like to sell, and maybe even a smaller size, so that's not exactly a baby size. But I feel like I got more options here with the miniature whites. They were short anyway, and the diameter would get really big really quick, and so you got a lot of cucumbers, but you had to pick them small, and I feel like there just wasn't as much option there. These are a little more flexible and when you could harvest them, and honestly I think different people want different sizes. So as far as the growth, I do think the vines were more vigorous a little bit, and nothing wrong with the miniature whites, but I think these were more vigorous, and I do think that these will out yield the others. So I'm gonna go get some clippers, and I'm gonna get a few different sizes, bring them in, cut them open, and let you take a look and see what you think, and we'll taste one. So there is the haul, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, I haven't harvested in 3 days, so this harvest is bigger than what I usually get, but I wanted to make this video and have a few different sizes to show you. So let's get it inside and we'll talk about some of the details. So let's just forget about production for just a minute and let's talk about quality, because if you're growing for home use especially, quality is probably your priority. And if you're selling it, you still want to have a really good product to put out there. And I'm thinking about this from a sales point. Now, I haven't sold any of these, so my idea on this may change as I have to kind of gravitate towards what customers want. But for now, I have the idea that basically have 2 different size classes, and one of them would be a primo product where I'd get more money for it. So I wouldn't want to pick them any smaller than this, and I would consider this a super primo product, and you see about how big they are. And then I would kind of like to sell them like this, and probably sell them for less, but I feel like the production would go way up. Said I wasn't going to talk about production, but yeah, but size up. This is still super premium cucumbers. I've eaten most of them like this. I've eaten a lot of them like this, and I really wouldn't want to go any bigger than that. But talking about quality and home use, some of these have got pretty big. I don't know that I would want to sell one like this, but I have a feeling that it's just fine. So we'll cut one of each size, the primo size that I was talking about, and this size, which, like I said, probably wouldn't sell something that big unless people just wanted it, but see what the inside looks like, what the quality is, the seed cavity. I'm going to eat a bite or 2 of it, see if it tastes any different. Okay, so you can see I've got most of a small one sliced up here. And first off, just by the shape of these cucumbers, they're longer and thinner, so I have a lot of slices that are uniform in size, and that's pretty much going to go for the small ones or the big ones. You're going to have the same size slice all the way through. With the miniature whites, they were egg shaped, so every slice was a little different, the ones in the middle being the biggest, obviously. That didn't bother me. I don't even usually slice them. I usually just eat them like an apple, but if you want the uniform slices, this type is a good one. Now, far as taste and everything goes, and the texture, so these to me are not as crunchy as the miniature whites, but they have the same texture pretty much all the way through, because they don't hardly have any seed cavity, especially at this size, whereas the miniature white had a big seed cavity, which was kind of like a jelly-like consistency, and then the outside, the meat part like that, was really crunchy. So I like the way that was a lot better. A lot of my friends, about half and half I guess, have said that they would rather have this, and the other half like the jelly and sweeter like taste of the miniature whites. So that's the little ones. Pretty good tasting. Let's get this big one out now. No, I got one bigger than that. So this is the biggest cucumber that I've let go this year, and there's something about that too with the miniature whites, because they're short and egg shaped. They really got too big too quick. So this is 3 or 4 days old. If that had been a miniature white and they was growing fast, it may be too big at that point, and the seeds may be getting too big. So I've got a bunch of slices here, and I can see still a little bitty seed cavity. And again, this may be what you want. I like the jelly consistency of the seed cavity. and I can kind of make out some young seeds now. So get the camera turned back around. Let's chew on some of this and see what I think. So let's do a taste test right quick. Got a slice from the biggest cucumber and a slice from the smallest. So still, the biggest one ain't that big, and the little one is tiny. Really good. It's crunchy. Got a good amount of sweetness to it. The skin, I can't even tell it's there, so good on that. Still doesn't have the crunch of the miniature white and none of the jelly in the middle. So here's the biggest one. I'm not impressed. The skin is still fine. Still a pretty good crunch. Not as good as a small one. Seed cavity is almost non-existent. I did get a little bit of the jelly middle, but even though this is better than what I've had from a grocery store or a salad in a restaurant, this is just not impressive. I probably wouldn't sell any of them this big, but going down to the other sizes, still pretty impressed with the quality. But, and this is my opinion, and my friends have been about half and half about it, but the miniature white to me is better. It's the best tasting cucumber that I've ever had, and I have tried many over the years. So based on all of that, I've been able to make a decision moving forward on what cucumbers that I want to grow for next year for market, because I do plan on selling some next year at the market. I've grown the miniature white for years, but for personal use, and I was wanting to see if I could up the production and get more to sell and not sacrifice quality. Still haven't done that. I still haven't found any cucumber that tastes as good as that. And the miniature whites did produce enough that I do think I can justify growing them to sell at market. So I'm going to bring the miniature whites back. I'm probably going to drop this variety. I may come back to it later, but for the moment I'm going to drop these. And what I'm going to do in place of this, because I plan on growing 2 rows of cucumbers next year. One of them, as I said, is determined. It will be the miniature whites. The other one, I'm going to go with this Asian long green type, but I'm going to shoot for a hybrid variety. I don't know which one yet. I'm going to start shopping on some of my seed companies and see, you know, which description fits my bill. Hopefully I get the same quality of these cucumbers as these are. And so I'm going to try to get another high production one, grow it alongside the miniature whites. And this is also the reason that I've been hunting a new one, is I have this theory that I haven't tested it yet because I haven't sold anything, but I have this theory that as the season rolls on, you'll probably have repeat customers every week, and if you're selling them the same cucumber every week, chances are they're going to get burnt out on that. And I feel like growing a totally different type, because the miniature whites and these are totally different. I think I can keep the customer interested by changing it up in the middle of the season. So I'd like to have it on a succession, whereas one crop is tapering out, the new crop's coming in. And I would probably start the season with something like this, super high production, and to me the lesser in quality. And then as that wears out to the customers and the new wears off, come in with something new, pretty odd. A lot of people haven't seen the white cucumbers, so I think it'll spark enough interest later in the season, even after they've been eating cucumbers all year, that it'll be enough to keep them wanting to buy the miniature whites. So anyway, I think I'll get off here. I appreciate y'all watching. I hope you got some good out of that. Y'all be good. Bye.